Hey, this is Bill Lambusta from Collectors Assemble, a superhero trading card podcast, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, brought to you by the... Hang on a minute, I'm going to stop for a sec because when I was listening to the recording, I thought my levels were a bit boomy, and I know on Zoom it's... let me have a look. Yeah, let me just turn them down a touch. How am I sounding? Am I sounding okay?
You sound clear over here.
Yep, good. No, I was peaking too much on the... part one of the questions and answer I was listening to, so I think I had it set a bit high. Never mind. Right, let's start that again. Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. With me as always is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. He's the other knife to my fork, the salt to my pepper, and the yin to my yang. It's Norrin Rad.
Love it. Love it.
And that's because we go together like two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's true. Makes sense to me. It's nice.
So
it's cozy in this pod.
Audio spooning.
Audio spooning. You smell nice. I just want to put that out there.
Bless you. It's the dove that I use. Audio spooning, because that's exactly what we've been doing with our friends at the Collectors Assemble podcast. So this is part two of an interview that we did with them. Was it a month ago or so back now? I can't remember.
Wow, was it that long ago?
It was a while back. I've been to sleep since then. I know that much.
It was a blast. It was a fun time.
It was so much so that when I was listening to part one, I actually had forgotten all the stuff we talked about, and I was listening to it and thinking, you know what? We actually sound like we know what we're talking about.
That's always a benefit. It's always a plus.
I know you don't often listen back to them, but
but I'm glad I'm making sense to somebody.
Yeah, you were making perfect sense. So I guess, without further ado, we should probably kind of carry on with it.
I think we should.
For our
listeners
listeners.
Get into it.
So part one, if you haven't heard part one, hop over to Collectors Assemble, available at all good podcast providers. They're great guys who run that podcast, although we only managed to speak to Bill, who's kind of the main squeeze of the three. And where we left it, he was about to tell us on his choice of character.
That's right.
He decided to go for, and I was listening back to it, and I was quite excited, So brace yourself, folks, for part two of our crossover with Collectors Assemble.
Enjoy collecting, guys.
I think so far I've picked a character that has probably the least amount of cards out there to be my character, which is Sleepwalker.
Oh, good one.
Okay, yes, Sleep.
That's a good one.
I mean, because as a poor young man, I used to go into the comic shop, and I'd go right to the dollar bin. It's like I'd buy whatever X-Men comic was on the wall and then go to the dollar bin and buy whatever was in the dollar bin. And I started picking up the Sleepwalker set, and I have like a good 2/3 of, the 33 issues, sitting in a box. And I have found a way to bring up Sleepwalker in every single episode of this podcast.
Uncle Bob, as we call him, will be absolutely thrilled because that was his baby. Bob Budiansky. That was his
Bob Budiansky.
And I love that he's in all of the sets from the 90s. I'm guessing partly because Bob was the editor for those sets, and he's like, please put my character
potentially.
in there now.
Potentially. I tell you,
wouldn't doubt it.
I tell you, I'm the same. This is why I've got such a big affinity for New Universe, because that was the affordable one to go after when I was building up my collection as a student. The New Universe titles, I absolutely love them.
I've never read a single issue issue of New Universe.
That's okay. Many people haven't.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's a
it was
deep cut.
yeah, it was also before my time. It's
Yeah.
granted, I also don't have any Milestone or I'm trying to think of the 90s things. Although I do have a lot of Defiant comics.
Oh,
Fine.
okay.
Wow, I haven't thought about that in a while. Holy hell.
Yeah, Jim Shooter's third time at bat as editor-in-chief.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I have quite a bit of those, which is amusing. So what are your guys? You used the term before, holy grail items, but what's your favorite item that you have in your collection, or items that you have in your collection? What's the one that you were like, man, I got this. It's so amazing.
Oh shit.
Well, no one's collection pretty much fits in that case you can see behind him there. So, chances are
Sexy Pelican case.
it's in there. I guess while no one's digging in there, I'm just going to take a swing at that.
You don't out me.
No. I'm just thinking because that question is, with modern collecting, it kind of has a slightly different spin on it, because there's so many areas that you can encompass. Like, for example, nowadays, a master rainbow could be considered to include the original artwork or preliminary artwork for that card, which kind of makes it a bigger thing than just the card. But yeah, that's a tough one for you, because I can see you gazing over your empire there, trying to think.
He's having such a hard time of it. He's not even looking at the cards yet. He's just deciding where to look.
Yeah.
He was
Bastards. You know what? Mind your own business. Okay?
he's like, do I look in row 1, row 2, row?
Yeah.
Where should? Oh man,
He'll be a while.
No, I have it. I know which one it is.
I have a feeling I know which one it's going to be as well.
I mean, for me, it's my Sleepwalker sketch card that I got that I bought off of eBay.
Who buy?
I want to see that.
That's a good question. I have to look it up.
Oh, that's all right. What set?
Right
you
now,
remember what set?
It's from Marvel Annual 2016.
Oh, okay. Yeah, decent stock. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
And
That's cool, man.
It was the best. It was the best Sleepwalker art that I found. Definitely,
Cool.
It was, there were probably 4 or 5 that I found of sketch cards of him, and that was the best one. And I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this one first, because
I love that. That's the best way to do it, man. That's how I started too. I was like, all right, let's dive into sketch cards. And I just went through everything of eBay. And I was like, what surfer do I like the best?
Oh, tell me about it.
So for me, okay, so I'm going to throw a curveball here, because it is very hard to pick a favorite type of thing. So there are sketch cards that I'm absolutely obsessed with, but there's a card that's just a regular base card that happens to have probably my favorite Silver Surfer art for trading cards, or very close to my favorite. And I just love the card so much. It's from Marvel Onslaught, Ultra Marvel Onslaught set, and it's Jim Lee drawing the Surfer.
Oh wow!
And a lot of people don't realize that, but
what year is that from?
1997.
97, I want to say.
Yeah, and Jim
96.
Lee showed up to draw a Silver Surfer. That's amazing.
That's sick.
That's beautiful.
That's that's great.
Yeah. No, it's I really love it. I think it's just fun. I just think it's so fun. So yeah.
So
I made a hard decision. Booyah.
That was a tough one. I thought you were going to pull out your very, because you still have the Marvel Universe card of Surfer that started you off. You still have that original card, dog-eared and all.
I got my 92 original.
So that is the OG that kind of got you going from when you were a wee lad. When you were a wee lad in the back streets of Miami.
It's in terrible condition. That was terrible accent.
That's quite. We'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. I'm just looking at your Sleepwalk because it's on your Instagram feed, Bill.
Yeah. I found the artist name.
Soriano.
Yeah. Brian Soriano.
Yeah, he's
Which,
good.
and I think he has I think he has another one too that he posted on his Instagram, but I haven't seen it or maybe someone tagged him.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful of that, man. You don't want to know what the other ones look like that you can't find.
You tagged him yourself on the posts, so that's the answer of that. I'm just looking at it here. Wait, his stuff is amazing.
Is this you guys? You guys aren't Marvel Masterpieces collectors, right?
Yes.
That is you guys?
Yes.
So you have this other piece of art.
Well, I don't know.
You posted it.
Yeah. People can. So on the at MM Collectors feed, what I do is I in the Facebook group every day I post Monday to Saturday. I post an original card, one of the cards from any of the series. On a Sunday, I do a sketch, but I ask people to submit sketches for that.
Oh, okay.
So people will send in. So yeah, it's probably a sketch submission.
Yeah, because this was a repost by PJs with Sleepy is the Instagram that they're dedicated to Sleepwalker.
Oh wow, okay. Oh, interesting.
I like your Sleepwalker card a lot, man. That like rolling Voltex in the background is sick, man. That's cool.
I was because there were two other ones that I recall. One I think was just like his head basically, and then the other one was a like redoing of the 92 or 93 Masterpieces card, where it was like a sketch that was of that card.
Yeah.
And that card didn't look that great to begin with, so I was like, yeah, I don't really want that one. I've got the regular card. That's fine.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
So Ian, have you said your items? I mean, it could be a couple.
It's not that easy, is it?
It isn't. No, I'm gonna go with Black Cat, and this is where. Sorry, Norrin. Apologies for this. There's the case getting opened.
If I have to hear this briefcase one more time.
He's
opening this thing all the time.
I am. It's because I love it. It's one of two. So it's not an original item. I have in here. Oh my Gideon. I've got a couple of rainbows where I've got all 4 printing plates from a set. And that's obviously a very, very tough thing to obtain. I suspect.
Because I imagine a lot of people don't put the printing plates out there as up for grabs.
Well, they do if they're not into it, or if they're buying to resell
type of thing.
But
do you have to like track it down? It's like friend of a friend to be like, anybody who has this, and then
this is one of the benefits to having the group.
Social security numbers I track down.
Yeah. but seriously, this is one of the reasons why the group works, because we do look out for each other. By and large, there are some people in the group who are just completely out for themselves and don't give a flying monkeys, but you'll have that kind of person in all walks of life. But fortunately, there are enough people in the group who help each other out and help other character collectors, and will spot stuff on eBay and will send other people a link and things like that. So people do have each other's backs on that, which is this hobby wouldn't be possible for me if the internet didn't exist, and if we hadn't done this. I think we'd all be struggling a little bit more to get our cards. But so that's Marvel Annual 2018-19. My webcam's not brilliant. That's all 4 plates. Yeah. And there was an SP card, which I've got there, but I've got 4 of them, one to go in each corner just to fill out the page, and there was a colour wheel in the middle. So that's a full rainbow from Annual 2018-19. But the other one would be Fleer Ultra Spider-Man 2017. I've got all. It is an absolutely stunning card, and I can't actually show you the original artwork for it because it's not to hand. But I do have the original artwork, and it's by Ko Cacao. That's the card. And it's stunning. Nice. The original artwork is just black and white because he scans it and finishes it digitally. So this doesn't exist as a piece of artwork physically, apart from
who's the artist?
Ko Kakao is his name. He's a South American artist, and he did a lot of work in.
He's worked on a few sets actually.
Yeah.
He's very much a go-to.
He is brilliant. But because Fleer Ultra Spider-Man was a challenging minx to say the least, it's taken. I only actually recently finished this chase just about 2 weeks before Fleer Ultra Spider-Man sold out on EPAC, which was about 2 months ago now.
Congratulations.
But there was so you've got the base card, then you've got a web foil parallel of that card, and then on EPAC you could combine 10 of the base cards to get a silver version of the base card, and then you could combine 10 of those, which equals 100 base, to get a rainbow parallel of the base card. So so that I did a little while back, but the web foil parallel, you can also combine 10 of those to get a silver web foil, and then 10 of those, so 100 of the web foils, to get a rainbow web foil. Now, the rainbow web foil parallel chase is possibly one of the toughest chases. It's up there, isn't it, Norrin? There aren't many EPAC chases. That are at that level.
It's like top 5. It's probably one of the hardest chases to do for like an EPAC achievement combination thing.
Yeah,
it's definitely like at least top 3. Yeah, for sure.
And it's really tough because the web foils fall. I mean, I don't think you even get them one per pack. I think you
don't.
Yeah. So someone worked out the odds that of any particular character, because it's a 100-card base set plus there's parallel inserts, and each of them have a web foil variant. For that particular character, you're looking at X number of cases for it to pop up, and then you need 100 of them on EPAC. There's no point in getting them physically. You can't mail them in anywhere. You have to get them on EPAC and combine them. And I recently finished that, so I now have the base card, the silver base card, the rainbow base card, the web foil, the silver web foil, the rainbow web foil, the gold web foil autograph signed by Ko, which is there. You can just about see his signature there. So the gold web foil is tremendous. And I have 2 of the printing plates of the 4, and I have the original art. Wow. So it would be that particular artwork of that character. I think
you're such a better collector than I am.
I was about to say show off.
Well, no.
Put the work in for that, man. Like,
I showed a base card. Go screw yourself.
Well, we all do. No, one thing I'm going to say, and this is without meaning to be overly serious. The one thing that we do really strive to do is that there's no such thing as a better collector. I mean, it's like everyone collects differently, and I think we had Mike Phillips, who's pretty senior at Upper Deck. He's the executive vice president of the world, I think, is his job title. He said it. He said it very succinctly. Collect what you like and collect what you can afford. So, and some people, there's one guy, bless him, he was on our 69th episode, Captain 69, who goes after cards serial numbered 69.
Oh, wow.
That's his thing.
You should have seen Ian and I before we had that interview. Ian and I was like, this is either going to go really wrong or this guy's going to be down to earth and just a weird dude. Really fun.
He was hilarious. He's really fun.
He was great. Yeah. He was great. No, he was super awesome. What a trip.
That's really unique. I feel like I need to pick something like that, like that I feel like base sets and then one particular thing that nobody else does. That's what
Yeah,
that seems like the right path for me.
But that's the thing. There are so many different ways you can approach it, though. I mean, we've long brought this up on the podcast that if I had the money and or the time and inclination, I'd probably start a separate collection of cards of comic front cover artwork, because so many sets have them, and it's a really satisfying, and it's not. In a lot of cases, it's not actually that expensive to get them. Most of the MCU sets that Upper Deck have put out have had a 9 or X number of cards insert that will have. So, for example, the Infinity War movie set had an insert where you had 3 insert sets, and that each of them had the front covers of each of the Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, and I can't remember what the other one was. covers.
Infinity Crusade.
That's it. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Well done. Top of the class. Brownie points. But you can have them as cards.
You're talking my wheelhouse. Mid 90s. Unnecessarily collectible number one.
Yeah,
comics.
I love them.
Come on.
But and a lot of, and this is a real area that people don't. There were some sets in the. There was one in the mid 80s, and then it had a sequel in the early 90s of Marvel superhero first covers. But then you get sets like Marvel Beginnings, and they had an insert set of breakthrough issues, and these are just amazing. I mean, look at
them. I've said so many times. I want trading cards of just comic book covers, just entire sets every year. Just give them to me. Give me the best covers from the past, however many years comics have been around, 90, 80 years.
Yeah. And they're beautiful. Yeah. And you can do it. I mean, I'm scrolling through here. They're
beautiful, man. And for that set too, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through here and I'm looking at Uncanny 141. I'm looking at Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, issue 4 of X-Men, Daredevil First Bullseye, Marvel Premiere featuring Iron Fist, the original Marvel Spotlight Ghost Rider First Appearance. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning that you can just be scrolling through these, and you can't. Very few people can afford to own all these books, even in low grades these days. So that's a very satisfying kind of side quest that I'd love to start at some point.
Oh, speaking of the cost of those, one of my favorite things is in the Marvel Universe Series 1, the 1990 set, they have the most valuable comics cards.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the values on the back?
Not recently, but I'm sure it would be quite impressive.
You're like, I mean, even accounting for inflation, it's very low compared to today. Well, I think Uncanny X-Men was like $1,000. Like Uncanny X-Men number 1 was like $1,000. It was like value $1,000. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it'd go for much more than that nowadays.
Even at that time, yeah. I'm just scrolling through my binder here. My goodness, they've got giant.
I forgot that they did that on the back. That's awesome.
Giant size X-Men 1, $95 near mint. Yeah. I'll have 3 of those. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'd spend $95 on that.
$95. I'll buy that for $1, as they said in the old RoboCop movie. It's brilliant. But I love, cards with comic covers on. Stop.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Great theory.
Because I wish they did that more. It's something that I'm just like, that's the best.
Well, that's the thing they do. I mean, Marvel Annual, the last, the 1920 series, which I think is the one that you got. It's the one that just came out.
It's the one that I've got the most of at the moment.
Yeah. So they had number 1 spot was the insert set in there. I know because Black Cat, of her solo series, issue 1 was there as well as House of X, Powers of X front cover, and that's a little side quest I could quite happily go on because I loved that series. But the previous year's Marvel Annuals, I think Marvel Annual 2016, I think it was Civil War 2. So you had a 40-card insert set with all the covers from all the main and crossover issues. I
did that on EPAC, and I got not a lot of them. I mean, there's so many of them that I was like, oh man, it'd take me a long time to get all of these.
Oh man, yeah, I've got some. Yeah, feel free to pillage mine. You can have them.
Don't worry about
it. They did them for Secret Invasion. I think they did some for, or I can't remember. No. Which one was it? Secret Wars or something? Pass. Modern Marvel series, because they started rebooting it so many times. I've just lost the plot.
Yeah.
So how many times
because there was Secret Wars was 2015, and Secret Invasion was, I don't remember when that was.
Yeah. Infinity Wars, plural. That's the one that was in Marvel Annual 2018-19.
That sounds right, timeline-wise.
And, it's just like, how many times... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how many times can you do a Secret War before it was no longer secret, is my question. Surely people would have heard about it by now.
You know what the first rule Secret War is?
Yeah, exactly. Don't talk about Secret War. Anyway.
Well, you know the story of why they called it Secret Wars, right?
No, I don't.
I feel like I should do. Tell me.
So the toy company, whoever had the license at the time, I'm trying to remember who it was that did the Marvel figures in the 80s.
Toy Biz?
Toy Biz, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because I know Toy Biz did the 90s stuff. I'm not sure if they did the 80s stuff or not. But whoever it was that had it, they just put a test group together of like just young boys, and they were just like, what words, test best with boys aged like 7 to 12, and the words were secret and wars. And so they just put it together, and so they were going to call their line of Marvel toys Secret Wars. And then Jim Shooter, of course, got word of this, and Jim Shooter was like, well, we should, it's like, we'll do a tie-in, a tie-in maxi series in order to help promote the toys and the comics, and they can all, synchronicity to promote each other. And that's why Secret Wars exists. Well, and the funny thing is that the comic series has nothing to do with the toys, because there are even characters in the toy line who aren't even really in the comic book, and vice versa. But that's why they did it. That's why they did it.
Well, it's a good job they didn't go. Well, it's a good job they didn't go for the 13 to 16 focus group. Otherwise, it would have had a whole different title, that series.
Boob Wars.
I was going to say Boob Wars. I was just going to say that. Oh, God. Those action figures would have been very popular.
Marvel's Boob Wars.
It kind of reminds me of yesterday, when we recorded yesterday, we looked through the Totally Toys insert set from Marvel Ages, and they're done to look like the action figures. And on each one of them, it says exploding fists or retractable claws or something like that as the special kind of feature of that particular toy. Yeah. So you can just imagine. Yeah,
or retractable claws, which is always fun.
Yeah. So
it was great. It was so much fun. God, that's that good. That put me
Black
back.
Window electric batons. It's brilliant. I love them. Absolutely love them.
That's pretty great.
All right. So we briefly brought up E-Pack. So I'm debating on whether we should talk about E-Pack at all, because that's definitely something that like blew my mind when I found out that it existed. When I was like, oh, there's like this online digital card thing, and getting back into collecting and being like, oh, and that's actually where I got my first sketch card, was through the E-Pack.
Nice.
Was buying a box of buy one get one free of Marvel 2016, and I was like, and I got a sketch, and I was like, oh, this is my first sketch. And I believe that isn't there someone on the group that collects Captain Marvel sketches?
Yeah, Jim Rails.
And
Lovely guy.
I want to contact him and be like, hey man, you want this one? But it's also my first sketch card ever, so I also don't want to get rid of it. Like, I feel bad. Like I'm like, oh, I kind of want to like, let him have this, because I'm not in love with Captain Marvel or anything, but
the sentimental value of it being your first, for sure.
Yeah, it's like my first sketch ever.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on the E-Pack stuff? Because it's a bit odd that there's some you own, some that aren't physical cards, and then you have to do the whole trading in order to get the special parallels and stuff. So what are your guys' thoughts on going through that process?
So like there is a little bit of a learning curve when you first start getting into E-Pack. I do think it's kind of what the future will be for a lot of Marvel cards and other cards as well. But for me, the reason it won me over, because, at first it's kind of a pain to realize, you know what I mean? And I do wish there was like a little bit of a banner on the packs that said only digital or digitally redeemed, a way for them to kind of categorize it so people can feel less nervous about making particular purchases. Because, there's a lot of packs on there that are totally physical. And so two things. One, there's no way I can find these cards in the wild. You know what I mean? I would have to order them from Dave and Adams or whatever other blowout, whatever it's going to be, or I have to travel an hour to a sports card shop where they stick me in a corner. It's like, you're the Marvel guy here. Just come on over in the back. Just make sure no one looks at you. And then you can buy packs or whatever, you know? So that's always really nice, is the ease of accessibility type of thing. And then the second thing is the trading. You know, it's when you start collecting modern Marvel cards, you realize very quickly that there's no way for you to know where something goes or where it is. You know, it's that's why Ian and I, you know, well, that's why I got really heavily in the groups, because I was out of Facebook. I didn't do any social media at all. And of course, this bastard here brought me into this, and now I know everything about social media stuff. And you know what I mean? Very, very much exposed. And there's a really great level of excitement when a product comes out and everyone's cracking packs, and you can just see the marketplace flooded with cards. You would never be able to see sketch cards. You would never be able to see one-of-ones. You wouldn't be able to hunt special inserts that you wouldn't see pulling a one box. And I do think there is enough of that audience there, and enough with ePack achievements, like with things you can do within the first week to get like a special thing where people are willing to trade with you. And that for me has made ePack essential basically to the hobby, because otherwise that experience would be null and void. That would never, you know, that wouldn't happen. Yeah.
I think the other thing with ePack is that you kind of neatly contradicted it in what you just said, Bill. Was you said digital cards, and then you said you pulled a sketch. One of the common misconceptions with ePacks is that it's all digital, because of course Topps have a license to do Marvel cards, but I lose the term cards very, very. In all honesty, dismissively, because what the Topps system does is you just buy effectively pictures of cards. And I know that the sale of digital assets is starting to be a thing, with, you know, someone recently selling Jack Dorsey's first tweet on Twitter as an NFT, a non-fungible token for like $4 million or whatever. So that effectively, you are buying something that doesn't actually exist, as a physical, tangible thing. So but with ePack, yes, there's
I just thought of this. It's basically a cryptocurrency.
Effectively speaking. But one of the I don't know the details of it, but when we interviewed Jason Masher, the president of Upper Deck, he touched on this, and he said that for some platforms that have done digital cards in the past, one of the biggest issues is when the platform is sunset and retired, and everyone instantly loses collections of tens of thousands of cards they've spent money on. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, because in the T's and C's it said that none of this is real stuff. You know, so tough. I don't know the full details of it, and I'm going from memory, but folks can go back and have a listen. Anyway, with ePack, of course, they do put digital elements in there, and ultimately that's a commercial and collectible driving thing, because one of the things you realize with ePack is that it is very, very, very using a lot of very tried and tested techniques of making it gamifying the experience. So and it rewards you for things, all the little touch points you get, like when you're playing a video game, especially an old 80s one, and you get the little jingly noise when you jump on something and a coin pops out. That has it's been scientifically proven that kind of thing has releases drugs in the brain, and actually inspires you to carry on.
Endorphins, probably.
Yeah, and repeat the experience. And so ePack kind of very, very nicely does that. But ultimately, the digital aspect of it aside, it is a way for Upper Deck to sell their physical product without having to go to the expense of distributing it to stores, of making the boxes, and of making the wrappers. Plus, it binds the consumer loyalty to that platform, because once their cards are on, let's just say you never open a product that contains digital elements and they're all physical cards. Your physical cards exist within that system until you choose to click the button to have them shipped home. But while they're in that system, it's a closed loop system. So when you take your cards out of it, you can't put them back in. But while they're in there, you can trade them peer to peer quite happily. And that's no small thing to develop that kind of software. And they've used a financial company that builds platforms for financial institutions, I believe, to build the platform. So I think it's great in that it allows that access to do stuff. I mean, you can literally be sat on a commuter train and buy a pack, open it, and then trade.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. So it opens up accessibility.
I was definitely lying in bed buying some packs.
Yeah, I did last night before I went to sleep. And people do, and it's great. And you can show stuff off straight away. And the downside of it, I guess. And someone put a very, very neat phrase. Someone said, when the music stops and it's time to have the card shipped home, then you have a sudden realization because with the physical fulfillment of doing that, someone still needs to go around a massive warehouse and actually pull the cards for you. So with every physical card, there's a 25-cent fee, which might not sound that much, but if you times that by 100 card base set, that's $25 to have that card. Just someone to go and get that set, put it together, and then you've got the shipping costs. So I equate that to a booking fee when you're buying a rock and roll ticket, for example. That is kind of your booking fee. So a lot of people don't see that. And for someone like me who has thousands of physical cards waiting to be shipped, plus I'm in the UK, it's quite a daunting thing. But that said, as Norrin said, you can see stuff that you wouldn't otherwise see being opened. People can lock their cards straight away, so some stuff you may never see unless you happen to be looking at the site at that particular moment. But you can also,
I definitely reached out to someone for my first trade for something that they locked like as soon as after I messaged them. They were like, oh, I didn't realize I didn't have that locked. And I was like, oh, I really wanted that.
I mean, some people don't lock their stuff. Some people like to leave it visible and flex or just show off, and some people, I kid you not, some people spend 5 figures a month on there or more. There is one collector who is legendary. People speak of him in hushed tones, called Mr. Fucked.
In hushed tones.
Honestly, it's like a reverential air.
No, it's true. It's true.
And he has spent 6 figures on Fleer Ultra X-Men on EPAC, and he has
over half the product.
Yeah, he has the majority of the product. And he's going for a full set of every 1-on-1 and for most of the sketches. And we have yet to talk to him. I've made approaches, and he's a really nice guy. He's just really busy. And at some point, he'll come on our show and talk to us. And he's really open if you do approach him. But he's just, whatever his real world job is, it allows him a lot of income, and it means that he's really busy with his time. And that's the only product he's been seen to go in for. So, there are, they're known as whales, I think is the expression. Yeah, there are big spenders on APAC who hold a lot of product, and they go in and buy a lot of product. And some people do it because they don't collect the product; they just do it because they can. And for them, if you can put enough into it, you can make money from it. So it really does, much like the real world of cards, he says with fingers in the air. It really does allow you to kind of cater to all elements of that market just for it's a distribution platform for Upper Deck at the end of the day. It's also incredibly easy to spend too much.
I'll go back and correct myself. So it's worth pointing out that even like a non-premium set. So, I did the Marvel 2016 buy one get one, and I did a box. So I had 2 boxes, and it's definitely worth it with the buy one get one. It's like I'll get a free box of cards. And that's where I pulled the Captain Marvel sketch. And but it's worth pointing out that basically each pack had a physical card in it, because each pack has some sort of, I don't know, what do you call those tiered cards that are not like super rare chase cards, but you get something in every pack?
In the Marvel annual ones, it tends to be, I think it's free digital base, then you get a color parallel possibly, or an SP, which is usually, in Marvel annual, it's usually card numbers 101 to 150. So an SP will always be a physical card. And then you'll usually get a physical chase card and or a hit. in place.
Yeah.
So you do.
So, if you buy a box, you're going to get at least, because how many packs are in these boxes? 16. I'm looking at the box. So, you're going to get at least 16 physical cards.
Yeah.
If you buy a box, and then you'll probably get, more like 17 or 18 with like occasionally here or there, you'll get an extra fancy short print or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or actually, I think all of the short print base set are physical cards too.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So you'll definitely get probably close to, like 20 or 30 actually.
Yeah.
Like,
and you should have enough of the digital version of the base set to combine, because you get with all those digital cards, every single one on the ePack site, whether it's for Marvel or for sports or whatever, you can combine multiple copies of that digital card to get a physical version of it. So everything digital is a stepping stone to get a physical product. So you'll have probably had enough there to combine and get a physical version of it. Now, with Marvel Annual, one of the other things Upper Deck have done for a number of sets is that the base cards, you can only get the physical version of the base card by buying the hobby box that goes into stores. So those Marvel Annual base cards that are digital on ePacks, you can only get them in physical boxes. But the digital base versions of them on ePack, you can combine to get a color wheel, I think, or something parallel on the Marvel Annual sets, and you can only get the color wheel parallel.
It's a shiny card.
Yeah, you can only get that for ePack. So it's kind of like, so they kind of split the product as well.
Yeah,
across physical.
It's smart, so it's you would kind of have to do both in order to really get everything.
Exactly.
Smart on a business end, at least, and then
smart on a business.
Like we said, it caters to a choose your own adventure of what kind of collector you want to be.
Yeah. But it is.
I like it. Yeah, I've liked it a lot. The only thing I wish is that they had an app.
They need to have an app. I've said that. Yeah, they definitely need it.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the reason why Upper Deck doesn't do it is because they built it not to be an app, and so and the cost apparently is just so prohibitively expensive for them to then integrate their system into an app. And I'm just like, because I would love to just be like hanging out with my buds, pull out my app, and just tap phones to swipe a card and it lands on their app. I'm like, I want to do that. Like it would be like what we used to do, sitting at the lunch table or at recess, in school, and just be like, man, let's when we actually literally traded cards in real life.
Yeah. I think 100%. I think my understanding of it is because they built, and again, I think Jason touched on this when we spoke to him, but the purely digital system, such as the Topps one, you could do that. But because of the fact that this has a physical product at its core, if you take it and put it in an app environment, then it's no longer connected to that online central repository. So if you lose your connection for a bit and then you're doing stuff in the app, when it then talks to the main site, you lose that journey that physical card has gone on. Effectively, you don't have a single source of truth if you put it in an app for that physical card's existence and where it is in its life cycle. So it kind of works I think it's kind of similar to a blockchain technology in that it is tracked. And the other thing is, as like you said, they didn't build it to work as an app. And so if they were going to make an app version of it, they would actually not be making an app version. They would have to completely rebuild the system from the ground up with different software and code.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure one day it'll happen, at some point.
For sure. One day, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to get there that they're going to have to do it. There's going to be a competitor or something that comes out with something, or, some smart collector is going to create a system that works with their system.
Yeah. Well,
someone's going to have to hack the system and be like, okay, let me just figure this out because.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that Topps have kind of come close to is this whole thing where they sell a product and then they only make the number of them that they sell. So if you kind of flip that on its head, you could have a you could have cards made to order almost.
Mm.
So yes, you can do all the digital stuff, and then when you choose to, you can then have those cards actually physically made and or physically issued if you choose to.
Yeah.
But of course, that wouldn't work on limited number parallel products and things like that, or for sketch cards.
Well, I mean, I guess it would, because you could still just do a limited number of what's allowed to be printed, I guess. And once they hit that number, they would stop the print run.
Yeah.
Or I guess it wouldn't be a print run. It would just be although I'm sure that would be much more expensive too. Because,
yes,
doing a print to order card, they would have to use a non-plate system.
It's difficult because, I mean, again, I go back to what Mike was telling us. There's only a certain number of facilities in the US now that are capable of producing cards to the quantity, quality that they're required. And all of the major card manufacturers use these few facilities because it's not a dying breed, but it's there's less demand for it in the world because of print being a declining medium in a lot of senses.
Yeah, and I do have to say though that coming back to cards and physical cards for the first time just last year, since like 1996 probably was the last. Like I stopped buying cards in 96, and then 2020 was when I bought physical cards again. So big long break, but coming back and the quality of the cards, like the physical cards themselves, I'm just blown away by it.
Yeah,
compared to what it used to be, it's so good. Even the non-premium sets, the card quality is amazing.
Yeah,
I'm like, they just feel good to hold.
They're very sad.
I like the premium stock. Yeah, I like and even the non-premium stock. I like the thicker cards. I think they feel like they have like tangible weight to them as well as like value weight. But yeah, I do really like them as well.
Look, Marvel Masterpieces 2020, and look at the. I mean, it's thick.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's beautiful, and that's serial number 1,499. That's card 893.
Nice.
Right.
But they're beautiful, But
I love Kitty Pryde.
Can't not. Who doesn't?
She's so cool.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love a
Kate Pride?
Who doesn't love a lady that can go through walls and has a dragon sat on her shoulder?
Coolness.
Yeah, I've been trying to look for a Kitty Pryde sketch that's within my budget and has Lockheed in the image. Which has been tough because the ones with Lockheed in the image tend to be a little bit more expensive for some reason. Probably because people want it.
You can.
It's a tough one.
You can commission someone.
That's a possibility as well. That's an avenue I haven't walked down yet.
Yeah, that's a door to open. But no, I mean, there's there's artists out there. Obviously artists charge a range of prices for their stuff, but you can certainly find some very affordable ones.
Well, really, it's just about convincing my co-host Sean to do it at some point for me, like for a birthday or something, because he's an artist. He hasn't done sketch cards or anything, but he does commissions and whatnot. And I'm like, come on, man, just start drawing me stuff. And he's like, are you going to pay me? And I'm like, eventually.
Down the line, you'll see some money come your way in some way.
You've got your co-hosts. If they club together, I'm sure they can afford to get you an official license. I think they can do that if they club together. So what do they go after, your co-hosts? I mean, they're not here to speak for themselves, but you normally do your show with two other fellas. So
yeah. So Sean is actually not really much of a card collector. He's a comic book guy. And we wanted to have an artist on the show to talk, because we're not as much about the collecting aspect as we are about just talking about the sets and the art and the characters and the storylines around it. Like that's really, we go down rabbit holes of just what was going on in 1993 that they created this card, like for this set. Who the hell is this widget guy from Excalibur? It's like, what is this doing and drawn by Jim Lee? Why would he draw that? And
I love it.
So we talk a lot about that stuff, but we wanted to have an artist on because we wanted someone who could talk about the art in an artistic way, and knows what he's talking about. When we're like, oh yeah, that card looks shitty, and he could be like, yeah, well, the anatomy is this and that, and those kinds of things. And he could actually talk about drawing and sketching and inking and coloring and all that stuff. Like he does all that stuff. So
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so he hasn't done a lot of collecting. He has some cards, but he doesn't have a ton. Ben is very much, he's just like, yeah, I just bought cards whenever I saw them, my entire life, just a pack here, a pack there. And his collection is very much just like a binder full of random cards. It's just like he just put them in the binder and he loves the characters. Although he has his page of Ghost Rider, because he's like, I love Ghost Rider, so I've got a page of Ghost Rider. Yeah, and that's how he's collected. And all three of us, because when we started the podcast, all three of us weren't actively collecting. we were really just using it as an excuse to talk about characters and cards and comics, characters and comics and art. And then, we kind of found out that there's still a very active community, that's out there doing the sets. And then I've definitely been more getting back into it than they have. But, it's definitely been an odd thing. It's like all three of us were really into are really into comics, and me and Ben were super into the cards in the 90s when we were kids. So, doing the card podcast to me was going, well, what's something that's not just reviewing a comic book, because there's a million podcasts out there that just review a comic book, that we can do that's more unique. And so far as I know, you guys are the only other superhero trading card podcast that I know of. Do you guys know of any others?
Well, superhero, no. I mean, I think we were I believe we were the first Marvel one. But there is. Sorry, someone's just sent something funny on my phone. Let me turn that over. That's hilarious. I'll send it to you afterwards because it is rather quite funny, but not for public consumption. And it really put me off. So we'll edit that out. Okay. What was the question again?
So there is a Star Wars card.
That's it. Rebel base card.
Rebel base card by our good friend Greg, and I'm not even sure how we met up with him. You met up with him first, right, Ian?
Yeah. He started doing his Instagram, and then started doing a podcast. So I think he'd always planned to do the podcast, but I think he started doing the Instagram as a way to build up an audience to then talk to. And he's probably been going a little bit longer than us. I think he started about 3 or 4 months before us. And he's just brilliant at what he does. And we've been on his a couple of times and vice versa. So but that's for the Star Wars community, and there's so much crossover there. In terms of the artists and the fandom as well. So, but beyond that, not many others. There you can throw a rock and you'll hear a sports card podcast.
Right.
I mean, they're all over the shop.
Tons of those. That's true. I've noticed that.
And really well established ones with like 5-6 figure followers and listeners. It's a massive scene compared to even Star Wars, and Marvel is probably the smallest. I'd say Marvel's smaller than Star Wars.
I think it's sports cards, Magic, Pokemon, Star Wars, Marvel.
All the Reddit communities are all about like Pokemon and Magic. And I don't know. I love Magic the Gathering, but Magic the Gathering, that's a real rabbit hole if you become a collector of Magic the Gathering. It's so awful.
That's a fight and a half. And we've had really good friends because the artist for Marvel Masterpiece 2020, Dave Palumbo, is a MTG artist for that card series, as an illustrator as well outside of that. But that's when Ian and I started diving into that whole crew, and that's when we got some major crossover, and we have a good friend Johnny.
We didn't have much choice.
We did. They just we were like, we're gonna put down the drawbridge. No, and then just flew over the moat. But yeah, so it's been kind of fun to see what that world's about. I don't even have the mental capacity for that one, man. That's just next level.
I mean, I love playing the game, but I can't imagine trying to like collect it because, they put out 4 sets a year. It's crazy. Yeah, and then there's just so much product and they've been doing 4 sets a year since like 1993, basically, it's, or probably like 95 was when they started that level of putting out sets, but still,
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of, man. Yeah. Pokemon's the same way too, man. Pokemon is just massive.
Although I definitely kick myself because, I started playing Magic in like 97, but I was around comic shops in 1993. I could have been buying, those alpha sets and getting those $100,000 Black Lotuses. It's like I just looked at them on the shelf. I was like, I don't know what that is, and I didn't buy them. And I'm like, oh, I could have had so many of them.
Yeah,
I think everyone's got one of those.
Same thing with Pokemon because I never played Pokemon, the card game.
I played tons of Pokemon.
Yeah,
I played So it was MTG. I learned later in life. I actually just recently learned about that a couple of years ago because I had a friend who was like massively into it, and I always loved the art because I love the whole supernatural ghost stuff, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, cool. teach me the game, man. So I only recently learned that and loved the game very much, but can't dive too far into another hobby. But yeah, I did play Pokemon as a kid. I did the games with the link cable. Like I was all about Pokemon, and did the trading cards and still have a couple of my originals. But man, I just wasn't one of those kids that were like getting boxes. You know what I mean? Like we talked a little bit about that. I was around kids who would like get boxes, but even I as a little kid was like looking at my parents like, yeah, don't spend over $100 for a box. That's crazy. Right. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. It's like I'd much rather have like a few video games, Yeah.
I'll take like a Silver Surfer comic book or a rare collectible or like one of those watches. Like that's cool, like a Silver Surfer watch.
And when I was go ahead.
No, that's it, literally.
And when I was in the comic shop, I'd be falling for the trap of like, let me get all these shiny covered comic books for like $4 or $5 a piece.
Yes.
Not realizing that the cheaper trading cards are probably more valuable in the long run.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like Silver Surfer 75th issue is like Surfer covered in chrome, and all the different heads of all the characters are behind him, all the different portraits, and my ass flipped out. I was like, yeah, I'll pay $5.50 for that. I love it. And now that you get them anywhere, I'm like, I fell for the wrong shiny thing. Damn.
Yeah. It's my second printing of Death of Superman. Doesn't really go for much nowadays.
Death of Superman. Oh man, that was everywhere.
That was a good read.
Yeah.
That was a good read. I mean, I didn't buy many DC comics growing up, but I got that one. And I've still got a bagged one with the black armband and everything like that. But
I've got the return. I've got the white bagged Adventures of Superman 500. I think that was
nice.
Where it's that he comes back to life, and then all the next issues with all the die cut covers with the S's of the 4 Reign of Superman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got all of those. Which, there's a billion of those out there. So, they're not exactly valuable. Although there are a lot of people who would try to tell you nowadays that they are valuable.
One day.
Yeah. Although I don't think they'd get very good grades because, my grubby 10-year-old hands are all over them. So.
I did not keep anything nice when I was a kid.
Yeah. I reread them 1,000 times, so spines are all cracked and everything. It is what it is. Whatever. I don't. Also, I don't know, because I grew up in the 90s. I kind of got very disillusioned by the idea of finding collectibles and instead enjoying and learning to enjoy the experience of just having these things, and I think that's why I collect cards the way I do, is because I'm just like, I just want the set, it's I don't want to go through all the work of, I was a very, very not wealthy kid, and
Same.
it's not only was I a kid, but my family wasn't very wealthy, and it was like, yeah, no one's going to give me the money to buy all these crazy collectibles. And I was like, I'm going to enjoy these characters and stories instead, was what the enjoyment that I got out of it. So and that's still the enjoyment I get out of it today.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Can't say further than that.
I love it.
So my final bullet point of a conversation topic that, we're talking about things being valuable. So I have to get your guys' take on the current collector's bubble, especially when it comes to the Marvel trading cards that has been going on, because prices have been skyrocketing. Seems to have kind of leveled off now, but it's leveled off at a higher level than what it was even 6 months ago. It's my story is I went on eBay. I got a sealed box of 1993 Marvel Masterpieces for $60 on eBay in September. In September, I got it for $60. That was a little low for then. It was still going for like 70, 80 from some people, but I got it from $60 from one person. And now you go on eBay, look it up, and it's like $300. So, the sealed product has gone up. Individual cards have gone up. There's been a lot of chatter about getting things graded in order for resale value, because grading improves the resale value, which to me, I don't quite understand. It's like we, you have a card, and then for some reason, getting someone to put a number on it makes it like 10 times more valuable. Which I'm being a little facetious there. I understand why people do it, but also at the same time, it's like a little upsetting that, it like that people do that and like bump up the price so much. So basically my question is, what's your guys' take on it? How do you feel about the current increase in attention for the things that you've been collecting for years now?
I'm going to let Ian go first.
Roll back. I know you said you have to go soon, so why don't you give your thoughts and then we'll close things up?
I think it just on this current boom, I think if someone, it's kind of like what happens in the stock market. Someone speculates and says, okay, go and buy this, and then you'll be able to, sell it and do all that. I think there's an element of that started it off. I think once you get past that point, there is certainly an element of people who were probably inflating prices on eBay. But I think you're at the point now whereby FOMO kicked in, and so some people actually started paying those prices, and then that kind of balance tips. There are fewer people pushing the stuff, and then more people actually buying into it and buying it. Yeah. So it becomes a hype. It becomes a thing. It becomes a bubble. I think prices will end up being higher than they were before this bubble. I think the big crunch will come on the grading side, because the grading companies are completely overwhelmed. They're taking on more staff. Who knows who these staff are? There's only going to be a limited amount they can grade because of the COVID protocols they've all got in place. So it actually becomes a very difficult thing. So you're going to come to a point where there is a massive, massive backlog, millions of cards at these grading companies. And when they eventually do start to work through the system, I'm wondering what in the way of the market will have waited. Because it's going to take you months to get anything back from any of the grading card companies, up to a year in some cases. So, if people want to do it, that's fine. If they want to go for it, if they want to pay the high prices, let them. If people want to sell for those sort of prices, let them. Where I get uneasy is people coming in who have no skin in the game or passion or connection for, and or who aren't part of the Marvel card community, who are coming in and just parasitically feeding off it in order to make buck. I find that distasteful, but that's just me.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it's so sad that people do that they just come in just to make money, just to turn things over. And it was so that's the hardest thing for me in this current field to, not get jaded about it like I did in the 90s, of being like, just, all these people who are just going after the chase cards, the comic shop owners pulling the chase cards away, from kids like me. And, and I've got disposable income, but I'm not rich, it's like I do this because I enjoy it. And I'm not going to lie, part of the reason I got back into collecting was because I was like, hey, this is not an expensive hobby and it's something that I enjoy a lot. And, having prices go up like that really, really stinks. One of the problems with the podcast was we started doing videos because I was buying up old boxes and I would do box breaks because I'm like, it's not that expensive. It's easy content. It's fun. I really enjoy it. But now I've stopped doing it because I can't buy the old sealed product anymore. It's too expensive to do a video a couple times every month, it's way too expensive for me.
It's a big buy-in for sure.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you have that point of view of that, it stinks that there's some people that are driving it up who aren't a part of it, If you're a part of it and it's driving up naturally, because things are becoming more popular.
Yeah.
I don't mind that as much.
I think as well, it's all down to whether you are in it for investment or just to own the cards. And some people are both, and would like to think that their collection will hold a financial worth. I always like to separate worth and value because value is subjective and what it means to you in terms of value. What it's worth, however, on a market is a separate thing. And for many people, they're intrinsically linked. One of the other issues I personally, I just think it's a thing to do is when people deliberately go after something that is maybe a little bit limited, but they just quietly just buy them up and then sit on them in order to short is that expression? But anyway, to just
jack up,
corner that market. Yeah. And they've got the only reason they're doing it is to make money for themselves in the long term. And some people do it, and some people, do it quite openly in the group. You can do that. That's fine. I think it's a shitty thing to do because it denies other collectors having a copy of that card. The response is, well, if they can spend that money, they can have a copy of that card. And I'm like, off.
Yeah. Especially,
You massive lord.
Especially, I think that Marvel cards definitely are it's probably much more adults collecting nowadays. But let's be honest, we are more or less encroaching on a product that is designed for a younger audience, or is accessible and is meant to be accessible. Comic books and their assorted things that go alongside it, superheroes. This is something that is supposed to be accessible to a younger audience as well as an older audience, and doing that kind of stuff really screws over. It makes the barrier to entry much greater, which sucks.
And I think a lot of that's going to be combated in the next year with Upper Deck. And I think there are products that are going to come out that are different price points. We've seen that with Annual. We've seen that with Anime. We've seen that a little bit with Marvel Ages, where it is so massive that people can kind of dive in and, kids can get into collecting it without necessarily having to reach those high price points. Star Wars does this extremely well with their sets. There's premium sets with Star Wars and sets of Star Wars that are in Targets and Walmart. I think Upper Deck understands that. And I think there are maybe plans in the future to create balance to something like that.
To bring balance to the Force.
To bring balance to the Force. No, for me, though, I think I'm very happy it's happening. I'm very happy to see. Yeah, I am. I really am. I'm happy that Marvel cards are finally getting to be one of the big non-sport names. I've always believed it was. You know what I mean? I like the exposure, and I like the people. I like, I've met a lot of friends through this, a lot of good people, and some people who do come in here are bastards, like Ian mentioned, 100%. But some people who are coming in are have genuine feelings about this. Like, look, man, I just noticed the popularity. I kind of like to dive in. I do have money to spend, but I don't want to be taken for a ride either. I'd like to enjoy this. I'm getting into it because it's popular now, and I've been away. You know what I mean? Like all of us, I mean, it's very different how you come back into a hobby sometimes. Sometimes it's the popularity of something. Sometimes it's on a whim. Sometimes it's just by chance, or you have a friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just don't know the circumstances. In terms of the grading, I think the grading's important. I know other people don't. And, I just think it's a great way to preserve some of these older 90s sets that, to be quite honest, no one's given a shit about for years.
Right.
I mean, decades. No one's cared about 1990 Marvel at all.
It was a year ago. You'd be like, oh, yeah, how much is your set worth? Next to nothing. The cardboard it's printed on, Exactly. Overproduced. Like, remember when all this stuff happened? Everyone was like, oh, man, how can you say there's value to a mass-produced set? And, honestly, grading kind of ensured that there was value to a set that is really, and, Ian has a great point about value and, worth, right? Which I really admire, and I appreciate him saying that, because it is true. There's a very big difference there. I do like the opportunities that are going to now come up, even though I know there's a lot being taken away, but I do like the opportunities that are approaching us with, like, I just got vaccinated, and I'm going to be able to go to card shows, which I never did as a kid. Lucky
because
bastard.
I know I'm very fortunate, very, very lucky. And, I'm going to be able to like go to a card show for the first time and kind of like dive into that world, which I never had been able to do as a kid because I grew up extremely poor, and my sister has special needs. So I was taking care of her a lot when I was in school, at home. So, and I, it just wasn't things I was thinking of doing back in the day, or felt like I had the freedom to do. But now, I kind of can. And I'm looking forward to like going to a card show and being like, oh, wow, look, there's 4 vendors with Marvel cards, not just the one guy with 2 or 3 who's like, yeah, I just have this sitting in the back if interested. I'm excited.
Well, my hope is that I can go to a flea market and get some Marvel cards.
Yes.
Because we actually did an episode where the idea was, it was like, hey, let's go to this. There's a big flea market right by my house, like huge, probably the biggest in New Jersey.
It's not Collingswood, is it?
No, it's Columbus.
Oh, okay.
Collingswood is more south of us, I think.
Yeah, that's the one that the Tell 'em Steve Dave guys go to.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I know that one.
And I was like, let's walk around, let's see what we can find. Like, I'm sure we're gonna find some trading cards, some old trading cards. And honestly, we found almost no superhero trading cards. The only ones we found was one person had a binder of just like really random stuff, and it was like checklists, and I did find a complete set of G.I. Joe trading cards that I kind of wish I had bought now. Like, I should have bought it. I was like, why didn't I buy that? But we found plenty of comics, but no superhero trading cards. And so my hope is that I can go to a flea market and find someone with just a random box of
God, I hope
of cards. We actually did an entire episode just describing our day of failing at finding
that's pretty
superhero
fun.
Trading cards. It was
I gotta
fun.
listen to that one. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we found a lot of sealed Desert Storm trading cards.
So random.
Yes, they had Desert Storm trading cards.
Yeah, they did. I believe they had 2 sets actually.
They did, because there's it was Operation Desert Storm, and what's the other one? There's 2 different things. It was Desert Storm and something else.
Windy Desert or
Windy Desert. I love that. That should be a thing. That's great.
Heat stroke or something. I don't know.
Operation Where's My Oil?
Yeah.
Yep. But they did do trading cards of that, and we found whole boxes and sealed packs of that. It was funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's my hope. But yeah, doing the card shows and stuff, and hopefully at Comic-Cons and things like that, finding more trading cards too.
Seeing some I'm advertisements, sure. Like you know what I mean, like fun stuff, all the cool stuff that comes with any popular new trend. You know,
I mean, it's great for the visibility of the hobby. And, you know, I've challenged people on Twitter on this. You know, it's like Marvel cards are back, and I reply with a podcast account and say they never went away.
It's true.
You all did. You know, I mean, they've been consistently, apart from some years in the early noughties, they've been consistently Marvel trading cards, multiple sets put out every year since 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, tons of fun stuff out there to find.
You know, lots and lots of really high quality sets before the Upper Deck era. So, you know.
I'd say that they kind of went away in the late 90s just because Marvel declared bankruptcy and had to sell off Lear.
Yeah, but there were still movie-related ones. That's what I'm saying. So, you know, you had Incredible Hulk stuff, you know, the Ang Lee movie. Don't Make Me Ang Lee. You wouldn't like me when I'm Ang Lee. That one. I always like pulling that joke out. And yeah, you had various other ones coming out, and then of course Rittenhouse picked up the baton there. But yeah, I mean, Marvel going under obviously didn't help things.
Okay, so I mean, that's the end of all of my bullet points for things to talk about.
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling at the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.